Hi everyone, thanks for watching this video. I hope this will be a rather quick video on refreshing you on how to use Lexis Plus to do a brief or memo assignment. Okay, Southwestern students, just for you, you will need to get certified on Lexis for proficiency certification. Let me show you how to get there. You'll go to Resources, scroll down to Legal Research Certification for Law Students, and click the link for Part 1 Proficiency Certification. That will lead you to those that you will need to complete for your assignments for your laws class. Back on the home page, I want to remind you that my information is here. Your student representatives are also here to help. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of all of your Lexis screens, you will always have customer support available to you as well. Let's dive in and go straight to Lexis Plus. Another tip for you, writing brief and memos, come on down to the law school resources. If you haven't seen the screen, it's got a 1L resource center for you with all kinds of 1L classes and support for you, but also there's a brief and memo resource center as well. This is a great place for you to come for brief writing tips, videos on helping you with the writing and fundamentals on doing research and different things. So please check this place out if you need some extra help. I research using a problem that mirrors yours by selecting this as my research, using cell phone data for location and privacy rights. So this is dealing with a Fourth Amendment search and seizure issue on the privacy rights of cell phone data, pinging cell phone towers to find out where somebody is. So we're going to run this search. You can see I just typed in some terms. I left it pretty generic. If you need any help crafting a search, feel free to ask for customer support help or me. We can help you create the best search for you. Things are starting to stump you. You can always take out all those buzzwords and just say cell phone data, location, privacy rights, and leave it to the key terms and run it like that. Okay, if you remember, we start our research off in secondary materials. The best filters for you to apply are those treatises and guides. Practice guides are what your professors recommend as the best resources to go to. Once I narrow to treatises and guides, I want to narrow to my jurisdiction, California. Now, I know some of you may have a Ninth Circuit issue, and so you're in the federal circuit, but California will capture that as well. Just because we're clicking California, it does know that you also want materials from the federal circuit that affects California as well, and any differences will be listed. But if you want to, you can always click US Federal as well to get those resources. Know that there's one more option here that you might want to click, and that is non-jurisdictional. That means we're getting any resources that are practice guides that might be helpful that are not geared towards one specific state, but they still may be helpful to your research. So you can always have that as an option. Because we're here in California and I've got 43 resources popping up, that's enough for me to get started, so I leave that alone. And come down to sources and take a look at what's populating. I'll see California Forms of Pleading and Practice a lot. This is like our California Bible of all things California law. It's always a good resource to click into to check to see what's available. But we have very specific resources for criminal law. So if you're dealing with a criminal law issue, California Criminal Defense Practice is a great one. Witkin California Criminal Law is another great one. So these top three, they're actually coming up as my top three because they're the most resources for my search query is populating for them. So these are options that I can select. I can select all of them, or I can select one of them and it will go into my result set. Criminal Defense Practice, and look at just that resource right now. So when I review my results, I'm looking at search as property-based search or violation of reasonable expectation of privacy, search and seizure, search as property-based search or violation of reasonable expectation of privacy. All of this is looking pretty good. I'm seeing cell phones. So that may be something I want to take a look at, and I check that box. Come on down, searches incident to arrest. If that's something that looks like it might be helpful to me, then I may click that box. I go on. Probation, granted denial of probation. This doesn't look that helpful, so I scroll past it. Maybe that doesn't look good to me and I keep moving on. Warrantless search. And so that's how I read this screen. So you want to find the resources that are most helpful to you. If you have several items clicked, then you can put them into a folder. Your foldering icon is here. You can also print things to the Southwest printers at your school. So make sure to remember that Southwestern has printers there for you, and they're up in the library at the circulation desk to get your printouts. And you have the email available as well and downloading. Since I like this, I'll come right in. Remember, I want to read this screen in detail to get as much as I can to learn about using cell phones. And I've always got my table of contents here to be able to bounce around and see what's going on this page, if it's really talking about the things that I need, or if I perhaps need a different section of this book. Perhaps I need to go up to the search and seizure defined and look at this more generally. So I've got my table of contents here to help me. Search terms, that's how you can open up and go directly to a particular search term. So I can click off all these other ones and just find those particular terms and jump to them. If you're seeing topic summaries pop up, that's also can be. I'm looking at search and seizure issues, so perhaps I open this one up. This one may look good, expectation of privacy for search and seizure, so I may come into that. And once we're here, I'm going to get the nice definition, some seminal cases, the elements that I need to prove, and some more information here. But I also have the ability to switch to California, and this whole screen will switch from federal law to California law. As a reminder, topic summaries are off to the right-hand side of most of your screens when they're applicable. Let's go back to the beginning to our results. Go on to statutes and legislation and look to see if there's any codes on point. But for this issue, it's a constitutional law issue, and use that to further our research. There's just so many things that cite the constitutional law that it makes doing research this way a little too cumbersome. So we're going to skip this step and go straight to cases. Once we're here, you know that our most important step is to narrow by our jurisdiction. So I'll say Ninth Circuit. Don't forget that we also have the ability to narrow by publication status. Remember, you only want those reported cases. So I'm getting rid of a lot of cases right now by filtering to just the 105 from the Ninth Circuit that have to do with my topic. Now, once we've got a nice database in front of us of 105 cases, I've got my Ravel view that I want to check out. Ravel view will load a chart and show me my leading cases for that area of law that I typed in. If I hover, you'll see where it says how to use, it changes to the name of the cases that I'm looking at. The bigger the bubble, the more influential that case is for the issues you typed in. And those little lines that you're seeing, they're like the family tree of case law. So I can see all the different cases that have cited my case for the particular legal issue. Use your Ravel view to help you get the lay of the land, to make sure you're aware of those bigger cases that you don't want to miss. I can always get back to my regular view by clicking the pie graph and coming back in. At this point, we need to be really specific with our terms, so I'm going to click the box, Search Within Results. This is where you want to really focus in on a particular element that you need to prove. So once you are in your secondary sources, you're learning the elements that you need to prove, and I take that element and I want to say /P, same paragraph as a fact from my particular hypo. This is a little formula you can use. If my element is reasonable expectation of privacy, I might type privacy in the same paragraph as cell tower or whatever fact comes from your memo. So make sure to use this to help you hone in on those exact cases that have to do with that element that you're trying to prove and a general fact that comes from your hypo that you can start analogizing to. Because I'm not sure that cell phone tower is going to be listed as cell tower, I'm just going to erase it and put tower, and we'll run that search. Now I can start coming into my cases. If I know that this is one of my leading cases, then I might want to shepherdize it. Remember, these are 15 cases that are citing the case that I'm looking at. So I want to check this out and see other cases that are citing this bigger leading case, right? If this is the main case on cell tower location, then I want to see the 15 cases that are citing to it. And I want to keep focusing in on the terms that I need to stay narrowed to. And remember that publication status. Of all these 15 cases, only 3 of them are reported. That's an easy amount for me to quickly look to see what's going on in those cases. Remember, we also need to use shepherds to find out if our case is still good law. So if you see I have a yellow triangle here, all I have to do is click the Y, and Lexis will lead me to the most damaging case that's providing this treatment. It's telling me that this particular case, Doe, has distinguished itself from the case that I'm looking at for this reason, and I can read a little bit further. Distinguishing and yellow triangles are very common. It just means that the facts of this Doe case were a little different than the facts of the Google case, and so they didn't need to follow the law. You just need to make sure that your facts aren't just like the Doe case, and if they're not, then you're good to go to keep using Google. Now, don't stress if you are worried if your facts are similar to Doe. The reality is, by the time you've gotten to this step to check to see if your cases are good law for shepherds, you've probably already seen the Doe case, and if it's really that on point to your research, you'll know all about it by this step. You guys, I want you to know I'm always here for you. Feel free to reach out to me. Thanks for listening.